More, let's go downstairs to Matt D. Nicolantonio.
Thanks, Henny. Jarome Iginla last night playing in his 1500th National Hockey League game, the 16th player in NHL history to accomplish that feat. Obviously not the result that the Avalanche were looking for last night, but Iginla said after the game that it's still a tremendous feat and he's happy to have been in the league this long to be able to accomplish that. And what an illustrious career it has been for the Edmonton native. Over 600 goals and 600 assists throughout his career, and a stellar international career as well, with a two-time Olympic gold medalist and a World Junior and a World Championship as well. He's not the captain of this Colorado Avalanche team. That is Gabriel Landeskog, and Landeskog acknowledged before the game that Iginla is one of those leaders that this young group can look to during trying times.
Big team comes into Toronto with all sorts of Stanley Cup swagger. They're led by an eclectic group, including Barrie's own Brent Burns. With more on that, let's go downstairs to Matt D. Nicolantonio.
Thanks, Henny. Yeah, this Maple Leafs forward group is going to have their hands full tonight with big Brent Burns. And what an end to the 2016 calendar year that he's had. In September, he was part of Team Canada that won the World Cup. In November, he signed that big 8-year, $64 million contract extension. And now he's tied for the team lead with 25 points in 28 games. This Sharks offense, it has struggled a little bit of late. Just 10 goals over their last 4 games. Certainly not the numbers that this group is hoping to put up throughout this season. However, the Sharks defenseman says that this group is not at all worried about the goals right now. Now, that lack of offense, certainly not for trying on the part of Brent Burns. He leads the National Hockey League with 120 shots on goal this season. Let's send it back upstairs to Gate 5, Paul Hendrick and Bob McGill.
All right, Matt, thank you. All right, let's talk about the Leaf connection and one Peter Holland. With more, let's go downstairs to Matt D. Nicolantonio.
Thanks, Henny. Yeah, tonight is the return of Peter Holland, just 1 week after being traded to Arizona for a conditional draft pick. Holland struggled with Toronto this year, just 1 point in 8 games, and really struggled to stay in the lineup as well. And when the team went out west at the beginning of this month, it was decided that Peter would stay home as general manager Lou Lamoriello tried to work out a trade, and he was ultimately able to come to an agreement with the Coyotes last week. This morning, Peter reflected on his time in Toronto and looked forward to what lies ahead with Arizona.
Injuries to the Penguins' blue line, specifically Trevor Daley last night, and that of Chris Letang, certainly compromised Pittsburgh in the last couple of weeks, but others have stepped up in their absence. With more, let's go downstairs to Ice Side and Matt D. Nicolantonio.
Thanks, Henny. Yeah, Chris Letang this morning placed on the injured reserve with that lower body injury. He will be out weeks, according to the Penguins. And Trevor Daley had to leave last night's game against Los Angeles. Coach Mike Sullivan said before the game that he will be out for a few weeks as well. And that's big for the Penguins because those two lead the Penguins in average time on ice per game. And so with that, those two players being out of the lineup for an extended period of time, they will look to Justin Shultz. He had over 27 minutes of ice time last night in that game against Los Angeles. And Coach Mike Sullivan talked about what has allowed him to transition so easily into this Penguins club. For the Penguins tonight, the second game of a back-to-back, and so far in those situations this season, they are 2-1-2. Back upstairs to Gate 5, Paul Hendrick and Bob McGill.
All right, Matt, thanks. The Anaheim Ducks have been a powerhouse for the better part of a decade. The guys who have always brought it, the dynamic duo of Getzlaf and Perry, now they're getting help from a much younger line mate. With more, let's go downstairs to Matt.
Thanks, Henny. Rackell is playing on that left side with Getzlaf and Perry this season. The year got off to a rocky start for him. He was forced to miss the World Cup of Hockey because of an injury. And when training camp began, he did not even have a contract. But in mid-October, he inked a new 6-year deal and made a season debut on November 1st. And he has been playing at a point per game through the first 21 contests, including 14 goals, riding shotgun with Getzlaf and Perry. And you see those numbers. He is on his way to a career year with those numbers. He spoke this morning about where those goals are coming from. Rackell told me this morning that his favorite player growing up was none other than former Maple Leafs captain Mats Sundin. The two come from the same area of Sweden, just north of Stockholm. He said he was his idol growing up, and it's always special to play here at the Air Canada Centre and look up into the rafters to see his number 13 hanging here. Henny?